Blog Talk Radio.
We welcome the night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Horror Night Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am, and I didn't pass out this time.
We are on track, and we are on to have what seems to be a fairly fun show, because it's a packed little show here, because we got a sort of a continuation from last week's show, from where you did pass out. But yeah, we are continuing on with the Halloween Grab Bag Marathon with another film, but we do need to get Ian's thoughts now that he has finished last week's film, which was The Diary Killings, and I mentioned last week that we needed to do this because I wanted to hear your thoughts on the rest of the film after hearing my thoughts. So, Ian, the floor is yours for a couple minutes. If you want to, everyone heard my thoughts last week. Give us your opinion now that you've finished The Diary Killings.
All right, okay. I'll try to keep it a little short since we do have another movie that we're probably going to take up a lot of time because I'm going to complain. But yeah, The Diary Killings, like I said last time, I did watch like the first 25 minutes of it before I inadvertently passed out, and throughout the film you could tell it definitely really was a passion project. I didn't think the movie was too bad. I did feel like it kind of fell flat, like it kind of just there was like some parts where it just not a lot of things happened, too much talking, like at the party, scene around the campfire where there's a boat, that kind of stuff. I felt like it dragged on a little too long. I think some of it could have been tightened up a bit, but all in all, I don't think it was a bad movie at all, and it kind of, I enjoyed it for what it was. I think especially like in the credits, they say this movie came out in 2007, right?
I believe it was around that time, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it looked good for that time period, too. I mean, everything looked and sounded. We've seen films that are newer that look worse and sound worse than that. So, so I was like, oh, wow. When I saw the 2007 pop up, and I was like, oh, shit. Like, I thought this was newer. But, yeah, no, it's a pretty, it's a pretty solid movie. Other than, like, some slow spots here and there, but what movie
and editing
really
choices
have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, those some like
it's choppy.
Some weird. Yeah, had to go back a couple of times, to make sure, like, I got everything understood and.
Yeah.
And
no, it's like I mentioned
yeah.
last week. It's just it doesn't really give it much time to like breathe. Into each scene. It's like this person, and then the cult member, and then a kid on the junkyard, and then the killer, and then this, and like, okay, where are we going? Like breathe. Like let me take in a scene before you move on. That's what I said last week with like the 30-second snippets. Like, Jesus, just give me a second to get into the song or something. Get settled in.
Oh no, exactly.
And it's so bad, especially towards the last act, and it's like everything felt rushed, and then like nothing is like really it's all tied up, and you're just like left with a screen of text, and like I was when I was watching it, like this only has like a minute left, and we're not even finished, and like there it is, like. All right, we are finished, apparently. We're just going to go to title screen. All right.
Yeah, no, that's like, I mean, I don't want to nitpick too much, but like, I definitely think that this movie, while it was, a decent watch through, and it was kind of choppy, and just, I kind of do feel like this movie is a little forgettable. I'm
but it's still,
also
it
having trouble.
Of heart.
Yeah. The first 25 minutes I thought was pretty, okay, but like once it got to the second act, that's when it just started falling flat. Like I felt like it was dragged on too much in some spots, and some spots it was gone too quick. And I was just like, it was either too slow or too fast. And I felt like the pacing issue, like this movie could be cleaned up quite a lot. Like, honestly, I feel like if they would have cleaned it up a little bit and went back and, fixed the editing mistakes, I think this movie would have been like way solid. Because it didn't have too bad of a premise. I mean, especially for like a low budget film, the way it is. But you definitely see the heart and where they're trying to go with it, and budget constraints and all that. Get it a pass for a lot of things because you're doing this all by yourself with no team, and So I'm not, like, its faults is just, poor choices, but you live and learn. That's how you make a better movie the next time. And I think that, this was it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't, like, good.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than a lot of the things that we did watch at our Boneyard. Like it's definitely better than One Ad. I mean, it's definitely better than Woodstock Holiday. I mean, it has some problems, but it's definitely better than those that are also like in that realm of doing DIY stuff. And it's one of the top. I wouldn't say it's like top tier. I mean, but it's definitely like. Again, this is like, that slasher indie project the director wanted to do. And then, you have that and you go opposite of it of One Last Stop in a Violent Town, where it's just like this onslaught of everything, this big, enamorous, passion project. It's like two different spectrums, But nonetheless, I'm glad we got your side of the review done, your thoughts out there. And, because I just felt like that review wasn't complete without having your thoughts. So now I can put a bow on it. We're done with the diary done. It took a show and a half, but we got there. But here we are, continuing on with this week's Halloween Grab Bag Marathon with another film that's getting a little bit of buzz. It's getting talked about in circles, like Totally Killer was a few weeks back, and that is Dark Harvest. That is this year's film, 2023. And Dark Harvest, again, I didn't look too much into it. I just knew it was about a being known or entity known as Sawtooth Jack, and that was it. And they had to kill it. And I didn't know much about it. I didn't even look at the trailer that you sent me, like making sure that this was, that was the right film. And I just wanted to go into it like I have been with everything blind, and we'll see how that turns out. So, Dark Harvest takes place in the early. Well, it's been happening. This event's been happening for I think 9 years prior, because there's this bad. Well, we'll get into it here in a second, because there's a lot of lore and backstory that we have to get into. But we start the film with the very, the 1962, I believe it was, annual event, the Run Festival, they call it, where basically Sawtooth Jack is this entity that comes back every Halloween and that comes from the cornfields. And they have to kill before it reaches the church at midnight. And if they don't, then there's basically a dark harvest, as the title presents itself, or basically a famine that comes, and there's this, that takes every, it's a famine basically. And if they don't, they get the famine, and then if they do kill him, the person who does kill Sawtooth Jack, they get initiated into this high society group. They get $25,000, and they basically leave the town. Basically, so they get a Corvette, and their parents are taken care of, and they have all the money in the world. $25,000 in 1962 is a lot of money. So a lot of money. Yeah, a lot of money. So Jim Shepard is the one that kills Sawtooth in 1962. And he goes off, and he's following year, we're following our main character, which is Richie, which is his younger brother. And so Richie, he's more of, his brother was a jock. Richie is more of a greaser in the town, a rockabilly greaser. And he's getting, picked on by other jocks. And basically he's kind of barred from doing the run because his brother won the year prior. So he is, he has no obligation to do the run, but he wants to, just to prove himself and his family, because he's he's the baby, he's always picked on, stuff like that. And so he decides that's what he's going to do, and he wants to he's trying to get these get updates on his brother. There's like postcards coming in, letters and stuff like that. Everyone has their own story of where he's at, what he's doing, and so basically, leading up to the next annual run, doing, a few things here and there, trying to get into the, spirit, and he's, getting in trouble with the cop, Officer Ricks, and then, like, learning stuff, his mom and dad's kind of not wanting him to do the run. His dad's sort of iffy, kind of holding something back, and he meets up with Kelly, who runs who works at the theater there, and he's kind of has a love interest with her, and starts to mingle and show interest of her, while also trying to do all this stuff and trying to actually just get away from the town, because it's what he's really wanting to do, is just get away from the town that he lives in. So him and his buddies decide they're going to do this thing where they're just going to get in the truck and they're going to go kill Sawtooth. Boom, boom, get over with. But leading up, there's this string of events that they have to do. They have to be locked away for 3 days straight in their room, and next to starvation. And then basically when they kill Sawtooth, as they did at the beginning of the movie, there's like candy, because it's like sort of a scarecrow, but it's like a pumpkin scarecrow thing, where like there's like sweets and candy and all kinds of stuff, like stuffed inside the body of Sawtooth. And then the night of Halloween, that's when Sawtooth come alive. And then all the boys, because it's only boys, and they have to kill Sawtooth, and they'll have their masks and their weapons of choice to kill Sawtooth and be the winner of this year's run. And there, again, there's a lot of little plot points sprinkled out as well as the film progresses. I don't really want to give it away, because they're kind of there. You can see them, the writing's on the wall. But as a film, I thought it had a great opening. I really enjoyed the world building that he built, the lore behind Sawtooth, and the run itself. I thought the first act, again with the brother Jim and going after everything, it sets a tone, and you're kind of hoping it keeps that tone, and then it kind of struggles because you're following the brother now, and it's just kind of it's a little bit of a bumpy road, and again, it's not a bad story being told. It's just again, you're trying to immerse yourself into this world, and there's just it doesn't really stay too focused on a certain thing. Again, it's not everybody's film. It's Richie's and him wanting to leave. But it's just I don't know. I just felt like it hit its mark early, and it tried to catch up with itself. Like when Sawtooth arrives during the next run with Richie, I mean, there is some good set pieces with him killing, ripping heads off and ripping people in half, and there's some good gory set pieces there that I like. Again, the one thing, just a slight Quinn here, when the friend pees his pants and CGI pee, really, we're gonna CGI pee. He's pissing his pants and we're gonna CGI that. It just threw me off when I watched it. Why would we do that? But nonetheless, it's just a little slight quip I had there. I don't know if you noticed that. But again, I like the look of Sawtooth. I like the idea that he had set. Again, it's based off a book from 2006, and that's another thing I want to talk about here in a minute. Is I wish they would do that more often, because there's a lot of weird books in that era. That early thousands, mid thousands era. There's another film. Yeah. Not a film, but a book that I've read around that time called Mr. Hands, and it's a pretty solid little book if you can find it. And that's when I was reading that, man, this is a solid movie, because it's it has this big giant totem pole, not really totem, but this big round totem thing in the middle of the woods, and a kid climbed up there and he died in it, and he had a bear thing doll, and his soul went into the doll, and every other year he comes back as this big menacing creature. And it's a out there book, and it's been a few years since I read it, so details are a little fuzzy. But these just need to do that and take ideas, that are just kind of forgotten, and bring them to the screen, because this is again a book that's been there since 2006, and finally in 2023 we get a movie of it. And I totally agree with that. Yeah. It's just there's always these weird obscure little books, especially during the 80s. There's the covers were great, they were fucking horror movie covers, But going back to the movie, again, I thought the film was all right. It's a decent little journey. I mean, it hits the Halloween feel that you want, where people, the stalks, the corn stalks, kind of reminded me of the Halloween Jack movies for some reason. For I don't know, I guess because his name was Sawtooth Jack, but just it brought back Halloween Jack vibes. But yeah, again, I like where it was going. It was kind of already, again, I already saw the writing on the wall pretty early on. Oh yeah. But it wasn't too terrible. But again, it's just it didn't really blow me away. But again, it was a fine watch. It's just I don't know. Ian, I'll let you have your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth.
Okay. I'll try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but I do have some complaints. No, I loved it, and from the beginning, I mean, I was scrolling through TikTok, and I did see a review of the movie, and it was right before you had sent me hey, this is what we're going to watch. So I had already seen the review for it, and the person was I figured out the plot of the movie within the first 5 minutes. Not to say that takes away from anything. He's I don't think they tried to hide it, and they really didn't. No. And so it's an easy figure out, but it's the journey of getting to everything that makes it kind of worthwhile. But like it was a pretty solid in the beginning. I liked the main character. Like, I thought he was a nice, well-written character. Like, he has
his problems and issues, and
he was a troubled kid. Wanted, everybody in the town talked about his brother, and he felt inadequate because people kept comparing him to his brother. So he wanted to do the run so that way he can, show that he is just as good, if not better, than his brother, and then he'd get some recognition. But like, and he was a complex character, and his character made sense. And I loved, it not only did it make sense, it made sense for the plot, and it felt like this is what, how the story kind of went. It felt right for his character. It just, at the end there, that's where my problem lies, was the ending. And I get it. I guess they're going to try to set it up for a sequel, and we might even get a prequel. That's the way it was feeling. And it's not too much of a spoiler, but like, I hope that we do. If not, I'm going to be very upset. Because like, they had me till like the last like 30 plus minutes. And I was just like, that's when his character also felt off. Like, it started to not make sense for his character up until, at the end there. I was like, this is not what I felt like he would do. My wife and I were, my wife was watching it with me, and she's just like, what? Why is he not, doing this? And instead he's doing this, and just kind of. But, that final scene, though, did kind of save it for the ending for me, but only if there's a sequel.
Yeah, because, that would be cool. I mean, I was, like, waiting for, like, again, the famine to come. But, again, like I said, I like the look of Sawtooth and, like, how he's presented. And, again, not going anywhere near that part. But, he was just like a badass entity just going around. And, like, the parents themselves are just like, do it for us. And they're just watching it. They don't watch it, but they're like, the whole fucking town almost like, no more boys. Like, that whole, the geyser scene is like, Jesus, you're not going to have any kids, people. You're not going to be able to do this anymore. You're just going out there. But that was kind of a funny thing. But like I said, the film, like, I didn't really have too many, like, it was a fine watch. I mean, it's like, I wasn't really nitpicking it too much. I was just, like, on the journey of the film trying to present the story to me. And again, like, it was a little bumpy and rocky, as you mentioned, with, like, his character arcs and, like, just some of the things that were going on were just like, okay. Again, it's not out there things that just don't make sense. They're just like a little rough patch here and there that just like could have worked out a little bit more easier than given. Yeah. And again, towards the last act too, where it's just kind of, everything's like wrapped up, and then you still got another 20 minutes, and it's like, oh, this is after the thing now. So it's like everything like kind of got done early, and then like you're just left with the prize and the running away stuff. Yeah. But I mean, it's set up for what eventually happens. But again, as the film itself, like it's an interesting journey. I mean, that's the one thing I can say. I mean, it's like I like the lore, the world building of this town that has to do this. I mean, it's honestly a better looking fucking monster than it was in the Children of the Corn remake a few years ago. I mean, that was a piece of shit. But nonetheless, I mean, like I said, like I like Sawtooth. I like what his look, and he was, again, mean spirited in a way where he's just like, you know what, I'm fucking killing killing these boys. These kids are not there. I love that. And it's just like when the first one happens and the friend gets like ripped in half, like, all right, finally something. I like that.
I was like, oh, yeah. I honestly did not think this movie was going to be as bloody as it was.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that one scene where he just starts shooting out the ground. I was like, yes. And then it loses that steam. And I kind of got really I was hoping that it would keep that energy throughout the whole movie. But we got
that's the thing. It needed to keep that. Yeah.
Yeah. There was really poor choices. I was like, okay, so this is a gory film. I was like, oh, right, this is, I haven't watched a movie like this in a while. And it was giving me the blood was giving me Evil Dead vibes. And I was like, but I was kind of let down that
if they did that with sort of like a the Purge Anarchy, where it's just like a constant flow of going from one place to the next while fighting off this, sawtooth. That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the war, you get the little bit of world building in the beginning and the history, and then you get Richie's character like you did with Frank Grillo's character in Anarchy, and then finally you're off to the races. And they do that for a while, and then they just you have to have the family aspect, you have to have the love interest, you have to have the bully, you have to have this part and the him trying to find himself and become a better, all this history, of his family and his mother stuff that's going on there, and then the cop, and then the secret society, and what they have to go on. It's just a few things, just a few roadblocks where it's starting to get going. Oh, here we go, cop thing. Oh, come on, man! I just want to see Sawtooth do his thing and him running and stuff.
That cop. Oh God, I haven't hated a character that bad in a long time.
Yeah.
I was in. Ugh.
Like I said, it had a decent pace to it, but it's just it could have been a little bit better paced, and just I know what they're trying to do. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say this movie felt like it would have worked a lot better as a short film, or if they would have just done the short film, the first half, cut it down, and then just made it gave us a little bit more toward the end, how they set things up. And if they would have just kept it going, cut some of the the rough parts out and add just a little bit more, and I felt like this movie would have been 100 times better.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's probably, if you read the book, it's probably good, because it has all that stuff there, and they're trying to condense it down.
But no, I honestly was pleasantly surprised by a lot of it. I think I went into it not really knowing, because even the trailer, honestly, when I started watching the trailer, I was kind of getting worried that it was going to give away a lot of stuff, but nothing. It gave away nothing. It just who the main character is. You didn't really see the creature except for a silhouette of it. And I was like, you know what? This trailer is probably the best trailer I've seen because it didn't tell me the entire movie. But yeah, no, so even then, I still went in kind of blind.
And
I thought it was going to be something different.
Mhm. And that's the thing. I've been trying to think of our candy analogies that we use for these films, and I was thinking of, when I was watching, I was like, this is sort of easy watch. There's not really much happening. You can just put something in your mouth and just let it melt. I was thinking M&Ms, but then I was thinking when we were talking here, it does have a few little bumps in here, here. So I was like, it's a peanut M&M, because you get the
I was thinking Tootsie Roll.
Peanut, Tootsie Roll, and then I was thinking maybe Almond Joy or Mounds or something. I don't know. But I was definitely thinking M&M or something because it has that coating and like the coating's like it's a little, you know, you have that sweet spot when the chocolate does finally melt after the coating, and like I said, do that for the peanut as well, peanut M&Ms. And I was like thinking Mr. Goodbar because of the, you know, it's like the peanuts all over the place. So I was thinking, you know, again, it's either an M&M or a Mr. Goodbar in my book. So
yeah, maybe a Payday.
Possibly. It's definitely a peanut-based chocolate candy.
Yeah,
that's the best.
But not like the goat, like
Reese's. Yeah, definitely not
every
that.
kid wants everybody wants a Reese's.
Yeah.
But this is like something that, you know, you get there, you look, and you're like, oh, hey, I got like a little bit of, you know, like, oh, this is going to be a nice little snack. Because if the last movie, not the movie before, not
Totally
Diary.
Killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Totally Killer.
So
I said that was
the
Three Musketeers.
Which is funny because, like, I took my son to trunk or treat, and I got a bunch of Three Musketeers, and that's all I thought about. Every time I ate one, I was thinking of Totally Kills the whole time because of that. Associating these is probably going to be the only way I remember half these movies.
Yeah.
Because we watched so many. But, you know, I mean, I honestly, like, this one is going to stick around in my brain for a while just because of how angry I was at the end. Like, I just, honestly, the cop thing got on my nerves. Like, it got to a point where the gag was old. It was beating a dead horse. Like, you know, they confronted the cop, then they left. They confronted the cop, left. Confronted the cop, left. And just kept going. I was just like, oh my God, just stop it. I was like, this is not fun. This is actually taking away from this movie. Like, these little, like, blue balling you with these, you know, this shit was just absolutely asinine, and I just was like, just fucking stop. But also, like, how do these kids killed, like, people.
Yeah.
Like,
that's another thing too. They're just so hungry. I was assuming they were gonna commit cannibalism on the shop owner.
I think
because they were just like, well, they tried to. I think they're implying they're about to, but I don't know. I didn't really see it. Like,
yeah, I was just like, why? I was like,
I mean, they're more.
Like,
they're more hungry than they were going. like some of them are hiding in a bunker. And then, like, the other ones are just like, you know what, we're fucking doing the purge, you know, fuck this.
That's what my wife said. Like, she was like, this is just the purge at this point. So, like, that's all this is. But it's like, you know, I get it. Though they were locked in their room for 3 days without food or water. But I was just like, damn, like, you guys are going crazy after 3 days? I was like, I've gone 3 days and just staying in my room. It's like y'all are weak. And I was just like, and my wife was like, why, how are there still people if they do this every year? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe it's a newer thing. I think they just use teenage boys, so that way the girls can, you know, keep pumping out the babies to. But you know, I think it was a solid, you know, little film for the most part. It did get a little frustrating at the end.
That is true. I will say that it is definitely one of the more interesting films out, you know, for Halloween-based film. You know, the bunch of kids going after a monster comes back once a year. I mean, it's you know, that one's not new. I mean, it's just not the idea, but it's just like set it around on Halloween, and you have to, what the story being presented as the film goes on is interesting. Again, definitely not new, but again, for the world building and the idea behind everything, I liked it. Again, like I said, just a little bumpy, rocky road here and there, where it takes some curves, like they say it in the movie. There's no stop signs on the black road, but there's definitely some rocks in the road there, and they're like, yeah, the around them.
Yeah. Well, and if there is a sequel, and it's really heavily implied, and I'm thinking it's just wishing. Yeah, and it's just like,
but I think that the way that ended, it kind of gave me, again, I don't know if you've seen Skylines, but Skylines had that presented like this big thing where like the brother in the movie, at the end of it, he becomes an alien. Of course, years later we got Beyond Skyline, which kind of continued on that story arc. But I kind of remembered how like that one ended. Like now he's this big hulking beast, alien creature, and like how it is in this one, and like now he's going to go after, like, oh, okay. But hopefully, I mean, it'd be interesting if we continue this on for like, again, another film.
Yeah, and I hope they kind of take the flaws of this movie, figure,
but it
feel
seems like
okay,
they
this is
killed pretty easily though, so it just doesn't seem like. I mean, yeah, he's cool in a sense, but like they have guns. I mean, it's pretty obvious that guns work. So it doesn't seem like it's gonna be. It's just like implied, like just like fuck it, bring the the rapture on,
Well, spoiler, but like if I'm not mistaken, the Sawtooth Jack at the end was released 3 days late, several days early. So it might be during the kids being locked up in their rooms.
Mhm.
So if that's the case, then they're all preparing themselves. So they're not going to suspect him to be released that early. Maybe it's just like he just goes to the church before Halloween.
Yeah.
But who knows? Like it was just so open ended that like if they don't continue it on, like that's why I'm going to be mad about it. Because there's just so much shit that just like went wrong at the end, to the point where I was like, this actually is like, I honestly felt like this movie fell off hard. Like I was like, if this is how this movie's going to end, then I'm just like, what was the point of this whole movie? Like I genuinely was going to be like, this is the biggest letdown I have ever seen in a movie in a very long time. Like, this was just, seriously, I was just like, oh my God. I was getting so upset. And my wife was like, because when it first started fading to black, she got up and she was like, this is bullshit. And then it popped back up and, like it came back on and she was like, okay. So, but yeah. Oh my God. That movie almost gave me a heart attack.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to kind of dig in there, but we don't want to give, again, we already did the little spoiler stuff there. But I do think it's an okay watch. I mean, like I said, I like the world building. I mean, it's just, crazy little, it could have been a little more, but they're doing more of the family dynamic, which, again, kind of hinders some films a little bit. And this is definitely one where they kind of toss a lot at you. It's kind of heavy-handed with the family aspect a little bit. But again, I didn't mind it. I mean, I definitely liked it better than Morbid, which was the first one. I mean, it's probably on par with Totally Killer. I might have had a little bit more fun with Totally Killer, even though this one's a little bit more gory. And I do like a good creature feature. So again, it's a toss-up, honestly. I mean, they're both neck and neck so far. But we'll see how the grab bag I mean, honestly, compared to the previous year grab bags, I mean, this is a breeze.
This year's
last
the best.
year was fucking. Last year has been.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Yeah, and I am so honestly, this year I have not really hated myself watching a movie, and that's pretty. Like, this is setting us up for next. Next year's probably going to be absolutely the worst.
Yeah. I don't know. We still got Christmas, but you never know.
Oh yeah.
Christmas marathons are kind of rough. I mean, we get dumpy little snowman again, That's what it kind of reminded me of. Is like there's snow escape, because he was like in a hole and like he comes back every so often, or they disturbed him. I mean, it's just like all these things. I'm going crazy. All these films.
But I did want to touch up on what you had said earlier about like them using older books. I mean, older now, but like, as references for movies. And I think, honestly, I wish they would do that more. Because, I mean, one, there's tons of horror books out there that, like...
Oh, yeah, there's plenty.
You never hear about. Unless you're, like, you're an avid collector and, you're an avid reader of horror. I know they do it every once in a while, but, like, movies based on books usually are pretty popular, especially because you already have a fan base built up. And you already have the story. You just gotta, like, figure out how to put it on the big screen. So, like, most of the work is done for you. So, like, and I, like, because honestly, this, while, despite its flaws, it was still a pretty decent movie, and it wasn't, I mean, I honestly kind of want to go and look up the book to see, like, how different it is. And that's what I love about this kind of thing, is because it when people who are readers who have read the book, they're going to go see the movie. People who have seen the movie who haven't read the book are going to be interested in reading the book, and I think that's great because it really, gives a good back and forth. I really do, wish they would do that kind of stuff more. I mean, look at Hellraiser.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely. It's a lost. Well, it's not a lost form, but it's just like, again, like they used to be just like pumping out all these films based off books, right after one after another. But again, some of these are just like lost. There's one I was reading too. It's like this heap of. It takes place in a junkyard. It's like this heap of this asteroid hits this junkyard, and like the creature emerges from all the junk and starts killing people. And like it's an 80s, early 90s, I think it's late 80s book. And I was reading through that. That's a pretty cool book. Again, there's a lot of gore books out there too that are like Edward Lee stuff. Like I watched a movie of his called Header, which is based off a book, which is about skull fucking, literally. It's a hillbilly film about skull fucking, where you drill a hole in the head and have sex with the brain. But nonetheless, again, that turned into a movie in the early 2000s. But nonetheless, Ian, there's crazy books out there, and they need to turn them into movies. But we're going to continue. We're going to finish our Halloween Grab Bag Marathon next week on, I believe it's going to be Halloween night. So I'm looking forward to that. So, Ian, it's always great talking with you, sharing these crazy conversations of where these movies take us.
Oh, yeah.
But as always, thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time on our conclusion to the Halloween Grab Bag Marathon on Horror Night Oasis.
Good night.
At Kroger, we know the minute a tomato is picked off the vine, the fresh timer starts. The sooner we get our produce to you, the fresher it is. That's why we've completely overhauled our process to shorten the time from harvest to home for our tomatoes, strawberries, and salads. Because we know how much you love fresh produce, we give you more time to enjoy your tasty fruits and veggies at home. So whether you're shopping in-store, picking up, or prefer delivery, we're committed to bringing you the freshest produce possible. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.